if you could not just hear me, to reiterate, I'm Ashley Sloan with the Virginia Tech Roanoke Center's Thinkabit Lab. And I have with me 2 lab assistants who are more than 6 feet away and wearing masks. So this way you can actually hear me today. I want to give a huge shout out to Roanoke City Public Libraries. We are here at the main branch. They are letting us film here because we want to give a shout out to the beauty of Roanoke. However, with this, I will admit there may be some background noise. We've got some lovely construction, some lovely lawn care, and some occasional drivers by. So bear with me if I do need to pause for any interference happening audio-wise. Now, today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you guys a taste of what happens in our World of Work section of our Thinkabit Lab experience. Now, what that means is that I want you guys to do a little exercise with me today. You're going to learn a little bit about yourselves and maybe a little bit about the careers you're interested in the future. And then we're actually going to hear from some really awesome employees who work at Qualcomm, and they're going to tell us about their jobs and how fascinating and how they got into them and what their interests were that really drew them into that. So I'm really excited to get started with you guys today. So the first thing I'd like you to do is find a piece of paper and a writing utensil. It can be scratch paper, it can be a sticky note, whatever you have around. So I'd like you to locate something really quickly. I'm gonna give you guys, I think, 2 minutes to find that, and then we're gonna get started. So in that time, check out this lovely area and this awesome courtyard we get to film in. It's very beautiful. And it is a lovely warm day for October. All right. Now, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take your paper and we're going to write SIV at the top in equal quadrants and then divide it into thirds. So we give ourselves these lovely 3 columns that we can write in because we're going to do this really great exercise, but we need enough space so we can write for 3 different ideas that we have. All right, now, what I want you to put under this S here is your strengths. So what I mean when I say that is, what are you good at? What skills do you have? What do people compliment you for? So are you honest? Are you loyal? Are you intelligent? Are you mischievous? Are you, let's see, a tinkerer? Are you, let's see, ambitious? So what strengths do you have? What are you good at? Are you good at basketball? Maybe sports? Are you good at gaming? So these things, even though they're fun activities, they can relate back to strengths. So maybe you're good at hand-eye coordination. That's catching and throwing a ball. Maybe you're good at quick problem solving, which gaming can really help with. Maybe you're really good with hand-eye reflexes. I might have already said that one, but gaming can also help with that. If you think about controllers, we get really good with movements tracking with our eyes and our hands. So I want you to write down those strengths that you have, those things you're really good at. And while you're thinking about those, I'm going to see if my lovely lab assistants here can shout out some of their strengths to give you guys some more ideas for what you might be really good at. It could be organization. It could be time management. Those are all really important things. It could be a whole host of other things. Just what are you good at? Maybe you're really talkative, you're charismatic, you get along with your friends. And you got something?
Multitasking.
Ooh, multitasking. That's a great one. Don, you got any?
Creativity.
Creativity. Ooh, that's a really good one. I can't believe I missed that one. Maybe you're good at, if one of your friends wants something done and they're not sure even where to start, but you're really good at parsing out how you're going to do something and figuring out how it's going to happen. That organization, and that's a lot of project management actually, which is a really big keyword that people love in the business industry. So there's a lot of really great strengths you can have, and it can correlate to a ton of different things. So think about things you're good at. Maybe, ooh, has anyone ever called you stubborn? Congratulations, you're persistent and determined. See, when you have to worry about your resumes and things, sometimes you have to figure out what you're good at, even if it's not something that's necessarily good. If we're using skills for good things, they become good things, right? So that stubbornness can become perseverance and strength. Let's see, what's another good one? If you're good at lying, you can be really good at acting, or maybe pulling pranks on people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's fun. All right, so I'm gonna give you just a few more minutes, write down those strengths, really think outside of the box. Think about what you're good at. And even if it's necessarily, if some people might consider it a bad thing, it can be seen as a good if you're using it for good purposes, right? So think about what you're good at. Right down. I'm gonna give you, I think, maybe 2 more minutes on that, and then we're gonna switch to our next one. And in the meantime, if we want to shout out any other ideas for our friends, that's probably a good idea. Oh, I don't have glasses to adjust.
Oh goodness, it's hard to come up with them on the spot.
It is.
I know that I'm really logical.
Ooh, logical is good. So yeah, sometimes we think about things in really fact-driven ways, and that can be really helpful, especially with the sciences.
And methodical.
Ooh, methodical, that's a good one. So that means that Miss Hannah does things in a specific order, and she does things in good timing. She works through everything really precisely before she moves on to the next thing. That can be really helpful. All right, next for your eyes, I want your interests. So this is what interests you, what makes you feel passionate, what do you get home from school and then watch YouTube videos on for 4 hours, right? So what do you do in your free time? What is it that you want to spend your time on? What is your passion? That's what I want to know here for interests. So is it a sport? Is it that video gaming that we talked about? Is it woodworking, hunting? Is it computer technology? Is it coding? You know, any of these interests that you have. Is it like veterinary medicine? Maybe it's people medicine. Think through anything that interests you. What excites you? You know, what makes you feel super excited to do? Because I know it sounds cliche, but it's actually really true. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's absolutely true. So what makes you feel passionate? And I want you to write that under your interests. And if you all have any interests you'd like to shout out, give them some ideas.
Science?
Science, yes, absolutely science.
Helping people.
Helping people, yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah.
I like performing.
Ooh, and you're very good at it too. So performing, that's a good one. You know, if you enjoy, like I said earlier, maybe you're good at deceiving people, you could be good at acting, maybe an interest is performing. So as you're writing these, I want you to think about how they might relate to a job in the future. Just think on it a little bit while you're going through. Give you just a little bit more time on that. Is it music? Is it poetry? Is it literature? Think about your interests. What do you like to do? If it's creating things, making new things, that's always really fun. All right, next I'm going to move on to your values. Now for your values, I know a lot of us immediately think of like our family and our friends, right? Those are extremely important values, but those are more personal values. What I want you to think about here is your professional work values. So I know a lot of you are like, I'm a student, I haven't worked. What do you mean? So I want you to think about that time you had group projects in school. I know, the dreaded group projects where you had to work with people that you didn't know or you weren't close with, maybe you didn't like them. I want you to think about the qualities in those people that you worked with or in yourself as you worked with those people that were important to you. So think about teamwork. Is that an important value that you have? Everyone can work well together. Is it maybe that everyone can work well by themselves? You know, maybe everyone divided up the project and, you know, you did 100% of your piece, but then someone didn't do 80%, you know, only did 80% of theirs, and then you had to pick up the 20% slack, right? That's never fun. So is it, you know, everyone can do their own work well together? Is it that you can have fun with your coworkers, that you can joke around? Or do you want a very strict work environment? All of these are absolutely fine, whatever is, you know, important to you, but that's something that's really good to figure out for your workplace culture. You know, just like you have your classroom culture, workplaces have culture, and that can change drastically based on who you work with. So it's good to figure out the kind of culture that works for you. So that's really what we're trying to figure out here. So other good values to consider Do you want to be the person in charge? Do you want everyone to come to you with their problems so you can help fix them, get everything sorted out? Do you want that to be what's your focus? Or do you want to be someone who kind of hangs in the background, does their own work, lets everyone else kind of go to somebody else? Those are all important. Do you want to be an entrepreneur, your own boss? That's an important thing to consider. Do you want to be like an integral piece of your workplace puzzle so that if you left, everything would fall to pieces without you? Do you want to be heavily relied upon? These are all important things to consider. Any other good workplace values to throw out?
Everyone has a voice.
Everyone has a voice. That is a great one, Ms. Hannah.
Inclusivity.
Inclusivity. That's another really great one to think about. Diversity is a good one to think about. I like to have diverse work environments. I want to hear from a bunch of different people. Accessibility. That's a great one too. Yes. Let's see. What's the other one?
Did you mention ethics?
Ethics is a really great one. I did not. Do you want to make sure that you're doing good, that you feel like you're proud of what you're doing? That's an important thing to consider. Do you want to think about, let's see, another good one I bring up usually is, do you want to feel like you are making a difference in the world? That you're actually doing something to help others, or, and it's okay if you're not, that's just something some people really are like, save the planet, the Peace Corps, Dr. San Frontiers.
Sustainability is a good one.
Sustainability is a great one. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're working for a company that's not maybe wrecking the environment in the background. It's a good thing to think about. Or wrecking their workers. That is another great point. Yeah, do you want to work somewhere where your bosses care about you as an individual? That's an important thing to consider as well. All right, so I want you to be writing these down. Maybe honesty is important to you in the workplace. Maybe loyalty. You want your bosses to care about, again, who you are as a person and make sure they're listening to you and what you care about. Do you want to feel like your voice is heard? These are really important things to consider for your future careers. All right. I think I've talked to you enough on that part. So once you have some strengths, interests, and values down, I want you to take a look at them and really think about what job makes you feel passionate that you think would fit in with your strengths, interests, and values. What aligns for you? Because I do really mean it when I say when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I do mean it. So think about your passions. Think about what you want out of your future career and then aim for it, right? Because with careers, we got to plan ahead. If your career is going to need a college degree, right, you need to know that so you can think ahead. Do I need a scholarship? Do I want to try and go for the military to get the GI Bill? There's a lot of different avenues, but you need to consider those. Internships sometimes will really help with certain careers. So it's good to plan ahead for that. But it's also okay if you don't know what you want to do yet. Some people will tell you you have to know by the time you're 18. People are still figuring it out. So don't feel rushed. Really just think about what's right for you. Think about what's going to make you feel good at the end of the day, that you did something, that you created something, that you worked on something, and you made a difference, right? So that's what's really important here. All right. Should go ahead and open it up for our Qualcomm friends.
We've got a few people here. If anybody has any questions, there is a Q&A box down at the bottom of your window. Whatever questions you have, you can type right in there. We'll see it.
Awesome. That's a great point.
Doesn't look like we have any questions at this point.
All right. I'm going to give you guys, I think, maybe a few more minutes on those questions. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in just a minute. So in a minute, we're going to hear from some really great people that work at Qualcomm, which is a tech company based out of San Diego, California. It's a really great company. It was started in 1985 by Dr. Irwin Jacobs and 6 other engineers and inventors. And so we're going to hear from them about their jobs. Oh, we have a question?
We do.
Awesome.
We've got a question. What are your SIVs? And
What
inspired you to your career?
That's a great question. So my SIVs, I'm a little silly. So when I was younger, I was a huge fan of Harry Potter. So I actually usually go off my Hufflepuff class, my little section there. So I am honest, I'm loyal to a fault. I am funny. I really do. I like to make jokes with everybody. So those are my strengths. I'm really good at not time management, but I am good at organization and I'm good at planning things out, which is very helpful for what I do. So my interests are science actually was a major interest of mine. Reading, huge interest. I love creating things. I call myself a jack of all trades when it comes to crafting because I took forever to settle on something. When I was young, I always wanted to create things. I always wanted to be an artist, but I never felt like my brain and my hands were communicating. I would think up these really great art pieces to make, and I had no clue how to do it, and my hands just messed it all up, right? It was never what I pictured. So I kept trying new mediums until I found one where my brain and my hands could actually work together and create exactly what I was imagining, which was quilting, believe it or not, very strange, but it works. And so that was a huge interest, and that helped me actually. Quilting's a lot of geometry, it's a lot of math, a lot of measurement, and hand-eye coordination, which I'm not so great at either, but you can work around those things. My values that are important to me, it's really important for me to feel heard. It's very important for me to feel valued. And it's very important for me to make sure I'm contributing. I never want to be a detriment to the team. I always want to make sure that I am actually lifting up as well. You know, I'm holding up whatever we're doing. I'm not pulling it down. So that's something that's very important to me. And I actually got started in this field because one of my bosses recognized that I was very good with children. So she pulled me into the education department and showed me how to teach. And she showed me a lot of really incredible techniques for doing it and got me started. And I found that it hit a lot of my strengths. I love talking with people. I love engaging with people. I like making things fun and funny. And that's a huge part of this, is taking those things that you're learning. My favorite part about it is to take stuff that sometimes can seem really boring and make it fun. That's what I like to do. So this is really something that hits on that for me. Other interests that I have, huge gamer, giant gamer. So for me, I like really this aspect of doing that coding and the engineering piece is fun because I can create some really cool things. And I don't know if you guys got to pop into my first session, but I did mention Sonic the Hedgehog in that. But so there are ways I can pull a lot of the things that I care about into this job and hopefully inspire others. And that's something that's really important to me. That's a value I have, is to inspire people the way I was inspired when I was a kid. So that's really mine there. And that definitely does hit at a lot of what I do this job for and why I do it and why I love it. So thank you for that question. That was a great question. I hope I answered it. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any other questions, but I have a question. So
Yeah.
where you're at now in the SIB that you would do if you were to sit down and fill one out now, is it different than the Ashley of 10 years ago?
Absolutely. And that's a great thing to bring up. So as you did this today with me, I hope you wrote it down. It's okay if you didn't, but if you did, I actually want you to hold on to it because it will change. It absolutely will change. The older you get, the more you learn about yourself and the more you know things are going to change, right? And as you change with that, sometimes some things change. Like maybe some of your values might change. Some of your interests might change as you get older, and that's all okay. But it's really good to think about those things that didn't change. If you sit down and do this in a couple of years and you see, you know, hey, I've got this strength and it's still a strength of mine. So that's definitely something you're really great at. Or I have this interest and I'm still really interested in this. So maybe that's a passion you have that you should foster. You know, think about making that into a career if it's something that really sticks with you. It's really important. Awesome. All right.
Awesome.
We ready to open it up to our Qualcomm friends?
Well, we're waiting for them to join us. Hopefully they'll be here very soon.
All right.
We should be there. While we're waiting, did have a question you know, is it something where you should be looking every year or every couple of years, just at where you want to be and your strengths and your interests?
That's a great question. I just want to make sure you guys can hear Mr. Don here. He asked if this is something you should do every year or every couple of years or, you know, once every 10 years. Honestly, I would say do it as much as you feel like you would like to. I'd say at least every couple of years just to get a good track. You know, that way you can look back. And if you're like me, I still have papers from when I was in elementary school. Promise I'm not a hoarder. I had one really great English teacher when I was in high school who told me never throw away anything you ever write. because you never know when that is you're going to need it for something, or you're going to remember, and maybe it's something you're really proud of and you want to hold on to it. So I kept a lot of the things I've written over the years. So if you like stick this in a folder, maybe come back to it, I would say every 3 to 5 years, it might be good to do, just to keep track of the things that really do make you feel passionate and what is important to you, especially as you try and consider where you're going to go for your future careers.
Oh, excellent. We do have from Qualcomm in California, we've got Vanessa Pinto with us.
Oh, yeah.
She is willing to answer some questions and talk a little bit about her journey. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I think this session is super important because knowing what your strengths, interests, and values can really be a guiding light for you as you're navigating not just your professional life, but your education. And some of you are in middle school, high school, even elementary school. So kind of knowing what you're trying to work towards this early is really going to help you, because let me tell you, I didn't, and it's taken quite, just like Ashley said earlier, she's like, some of you might not know what you're doing. And that was kind of me a few years ago. And so it took quite some time to navigate the world of work, literally, and knowing what I wanted to do. But ultimately, I knew that my strength was teamwork. Like, I love working as a team, and it's STEM. So I knew that I liked to teach STEM. I loved STEM. So, and those were strengths that I always exhibited in school. So I'm like, okay, let's maybe stay on that path somehow. And then my interests have always been like travel and reading and learning. I love to learn. So STEM is such a great world to learn, because there are new things coming out every single day in STEAM. So whether it's science, technology, I can't even pick which one of the letters I like to learn from. I just like to learn all of them, a well-rounded approach. And then my values have always been equity and equality, making sure everyone has access to the opportunities and resources that our world has to offer. And so I said, okay, well, what can I know this about myself, so how can I kind of go about the world in a way that I can honor these 3 things about me? And so I tried many different things. I worked as an outreach STEM teacher in college. I then ended up in the Peace Corps, which is funny that you mentioned it, Ashley. And I taught English there, but I also taught, we ran like a STEAM camp there. I was serving in Lesotho, and then I ended up teaching for a year as a 5th grade teacher, and then I found the Motherlode, and the Motherlode was the Qualcomm Thinkabit Lab, honestly, because it's all about offering hands-on experiences to students all over the country, whether it's online or virtually or in person. And so it's honestly been such a gift to be able to find this job, because I'm not like coming to work and resenting work, or just like, oh, I'm just here 9 to 5, or oh, I can't wait for the weekend. Like, I genuinely look forward to what I'm doing every day, whether it's talking to amazing instructors like Ashley and Dawn, and our other network of instructors, or it's kind of finding new ways to do hands-on activities, especially with virtual. This summer, we were able to do an online camp with different schools, and that was really exciting to know that we could still kind of engage students on activities in a time where many students have been at home kind of going through the motions of school, but not really having that opportunity to engage with each other or do hands-on activities. So this summer was really exciting in that way. And I love that I'm able to honor the equity aspect, because it's all about, we provide the program to anyone and everyone who's interested for free of charge. And that really opens up the world of STEAM to a lot of people who maybe didn't know they were interested in STEAM, right? So it's the exposure aspect that's really exciting. But yeah, it's been a journey. I love it. I'm not saying that I've stopped my journey. I think I'm still learning every day about myself and what I want to do. And I encourage you to welcome that feeling and that curiosity, because the world, I mean, the sky's the limit. There's careers out there every day. There are new careers. You can create your own career. I mean, don't sell yourself short, and keep exploring, keep asking questions, be curious. Ask the adults around you, like, hey, how did you come up with this career? How did you know you wanted to do this? Why? And those questions can really open up something about yourself to know what it is that you want to pursue.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa. We've just been joined by another friend of ours from Qualcomm. Welcome, Miguel.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I apologize for my, kind of quick entry here. I was trying to juggle multiple things at the same time here. So things kind of happen in an engineering company, you know?
That's great. Just real quick, Miguel, can you tell us exactly what Qualcomm does? I know a lot of people watching may not be familiar or heard the name and not really sure what kind of a company Qualcomm is.
Sure, no problem. Up until a few years ago, we did have the naming rights to the stadium here in San Diego. And when I would tell people sometimes that I worked there, they'd ask me if I worked in concessions or something. I'd say, no, that's not me. We work at the engineering firm itself. Qualcomm is effectively, we're a company that was started by a group of inventors, and that's kind of what we all are. We're innovators, inventors. The company itself is involved in in multiple, sort of business ventures. Its main sort of source of revenue is through IPR. It's through the patents that have been registered and invented by the folks who worked here and continue to, and some of them still work here. Some of those patents include the airplane mode. So for those of you who have, if you've flown on an aircraft and the pilots come over the radio and they say, okay, all devices, you need to turn them off for an airplane mode. That was a patent that we actually have registered and we created here at Qualcomm. So that's one way that we generate revenue. Another thing that we do, and the main source of the main product that we sell is our chipsets. We sell chipsets and modems to folks like Apple and Samsung, and these go into their mobile devices that then go into your pockets or purses or backpacks when you buy a phone and are walking around and making calls or making chats or video streams, whatever. So that's really the two big portions of the company. Other aspects include things that we're getting involved with in autonomous vehicles and automotive. We are also getting involved here recently. We made an announcement that we're going to be starting to get involved in the infrastructure, which is not just the mobile side, but also base stations and things. And speaking of which, I don't know if you can see behind me very well, but right behind me here, we have a couple of pieces of test equipment. And what these are, this is simulating what we call an NSA network. So, everybody's heard of 5G. And so what we do is we have these base stations that we design and manufacture on site. Of course, they're not the big base stations that you see when you're driving about or anything, but we scale them down and they're large enough to be, so that we can work on them and put them on a bench. And at the same time, we can simulate what our chips will do and make sure that they do the things that we promise. You can imagine how embarrassing it would be if we said that this chip could, stream video at such a speed and all of a sudden it didn't work. So before you all get it, we make sure that we test it out, and that's what this equipment behind me is doing. We have a 5G base station simulator down here below, and up here is the R front end of a 4G, and together they work in what's called an NSA or non-standalone mode. So I just want to let you know that's what you're looking at behind me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So Miguel, can you tell us a little bit about your own journey? How did you get to where you're at now? What? Were you
Excellent. Sure.
An engineer or?
So when a lot of things, we have attributes and things that we start to sort of glom onto when we're young as we grow up. So for instance, when I was a kid, I liked to take things apart. Not necessarily I could put them back together, but I like to take them apart. And so with that came taking apart, say, a radio and looking at all the components inside and just wondering what was going on there. It's like a different world. There's things happening in there and I didn't know. Yeah, resistors and capacitors, inductors. So then that led to other things. That led to starting to tinker with stuff. I used to have a little electronic set that my parents got me from Radio Shack, and I would make little circuits and things like that. That led into, liking to do basic programming, and literally with the language called BASIC, which isn't in use anymore. But back when I was a kid, that was really, an entry-level language to start making, very entry-level programs and things. And that just grew. You know, I did computer clubs in middle school, programming languages through high school. And then I just figured, you know, I liked electronics in general.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that tinkering, yeah, it really comes into play.
Yeah. In fact,
Engineers.
in the Thinkabit Lab itself, we have these tinkering nights that, you know, we used to host, and we hope to host them again. And that's the whole point, is to come in, you know, don't be afraid to take things, put them together. If it does what you want it to do, great. And if not, well, what didn't work? And then to try again. So tinkering is, it's like the seed for a lot of this, to a lot of the folks who are here.
So should we open it up for questions for
Absolutely.
our Qualcomm friends?
Yeah.
If anyone has anything?
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions for our Qualcomm friends, please send them in the chat.
Right now, we don't have any questions. But
All right. Do you have any questions for me?
okay. Okay.
All right.
Well, I think we might go ahead and end a little bit early.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you really enjoyed this activity. And I hope you do take some time. If you didn't do it today, maybe do it another time. And again, think on doing it later on in the future, because it can change, and that's absolutely fine. Or it can stay the same, and then you know those things that are important to you. So thanks again for joining us. I'm Ashley Sloan with the Virginia Tech Roanoke Center's Qualcomm Thinkabit Lab. So thanks again. See you later, and happy STEAM Day.
Here, bye-bye.
Team day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.